Hi everyone, this is Pastime Critic, and thanks for stopping by the channel where I review different media. Today I am talking about a game that I was pleasantly surprised with and did not even plan on reviewing. But between my full-time job, part-time business, and writing a book, I just need to find sometimes something that I can just fall back on for leisure. And while I do work out 6 to 7 days a week as a mental getaway and stress reliever, watching movies, shows, and gaming has always been a vice that just truly allows me to relax. And so I went on Steam and saw Hades was on sale. I've heard some pretty good things about it. And so it unexpectedly became my first roguelite game. And man, this game was addicting. Firstly, there will be spoilers going forward. And so if you haven't played this game, feel free to come back after you've experienced it. So, like I said, Hades is a roguelite. And for those of you who have no idea what a roguelite is, like me before playing Hades, a roguelite is a video game genre that blends the core elements of traditional roguelikes, such as procedural generation and permadeath, with persistent progression systems that carry over between runs. Unlike a true roguelike, a roguelite allows players to unlock permanent upgrades, abilities, or items that make future playthroughs more successful, even though the character starts a new run from the beginning after each death. So back to the game. I've kind of always known this, but I love grinding in games. I'm a sucker for watching numbers go up, getting rewards, and seeing my characters progress. Hades executes this perfectly, I feel. The story of Hades is about Zagreus, the immortal son of Hades, who attempts to escape the underworld to find his mother, Persephone. Each death sends him back to the house of Hades, but this narrative cycle is designed to fit the game's roguelite gameplay, where Zagreus gets stronger each run and learns more about his family through interactions with characters. This plot unfolds through repeated escape attempts, with Zagreus fighting through the underworld with help from the Olympian gods and uncovering a deeper story of family, identity, and reconciliation. There are 6 main weapons in the game, each of which can be upgraded to a different variation at a future time, and all bringing a different style of gameplay to a run, which is such a simple but effective way of getting variety out of the game. I personally like the fists. I enjoy the speed at which I could clear each encounter, and I found the fists matching well with the upgrades I gravitated towards. Now, I generally am a perfectionist, min-maxer, looking up guides for the best builds in the game, but for this one I truly went into it with no knowledge on anything and played my first run with just the knowledge I gained from the experience of the game. I do enjoy this method, and I found that sometimes researching a little bit too much about the game, watching too many trailers, or looking up sort of builds for the game can really take away from the first gameplay experience. Now, I'm not saying you all do this, but I personally find myself doing this, not just with games, but with movies. Sometimes the trailer will kind of show too much, or I'll read too much into a movie that's coming out or a game that's coming out and sort of find out things that I wish I didn't know going into the experience. So, back to the rewards and upgrades. They are obtained mostly after each encounter or during encounters, such as the Sharon's Obol, which I just called coins, used to purchase different upgrades. The most important upgrades, however, were the boons, powerful upgrades and abilities given by the Olympian gods that last for the duration of the single run. I love Greek mythology. I actually took an elective course in college about it and just love the lore. I used to say I wanted a clash of the Olympian gods tattooed on my back, but here I am at 33 and still tattooless, never yet pulling the trigger. But like other games I enjoy, Fortnite, I like when there are randomized rewards that improves your character or makes them stronger. It's really addicting to me. I often found myself chasing Ares boons, which gave your attacks an added doom ability, which inflicted a burst of damage on the enemy over a short time. Again, found it pairing really well with the Fists of Zagreus, which were the first fists of the game, the first variation that you get. But there are so many awesome boons and abilities. Ares, which I primarily use for the Doom status, Zeus for his lightning attacks, Poseidon has knockback attacks and area damage, Athena has defensive deflections, which, by the way, her dash ability I found to be my favorite and overpowered, Artemis with his crit hit chances and precision damage, Aphrodite with her weak status curses, Demeter with her freezing enemies abilities, Hermes, whose abilities focused on speed and mobility, and Dionysus, who I used just as much as Ares due to his damage over time effect called Hangover and Festive Fog Cast. Which brings me now to the casting. Not only did you have your weapon of choice for your normal attack and special, but no matter what, you always had the cast, which you could hold multiple of in your arsenal. I beat the game with 3 casts at the ready. The cast is a slow, long-range projectile that launches a bloodstone, dealing damage and potentially lodging in enemies, which then could increase your normal damage output depending on what you had equipped in the Mirror of the Night back in your room that you can set before each run. Now, I'll be honest, about 80% of the runs I played before beating the game, I never used the cast. But once I started using boons and upgrades to focus on my cast, I found the cast to be actually the most powerful and useful attack for my runs, clearing many of my encounters by simply casting without needing to use a special or normal attack once in the room. This game just gave so much variety in how you could play it. It's really spectacular. Now, the music. The music is simple but fantastic, and the same could be said about the art. The story was also engaging. It's a simple quest, but I found it really touching, especially at the end. All of these things gave the game a refreshing originality that made it hard to put the controller down, and I mean that. Runs for me were typically an hour long. This game was so fun that as a guy who goes to bed around 9 a.m. in order to wake up at 5 a.m. to hit the gym, I find myself often saying one more run, and this has occurred many nights in a row. It was a blast and the most fun I've had playing a game in a while. Much like my favorite gaming experiences like Elden Ring. Learning enemy encounters and bosses' fight patterns, dying over and over but ultimately progressing your skill of the game, it was all really rewarding. I think this was enhanced even more by the fact that in order to beat the game, you needed to beat all encounters and bosses in a single run in Hades. Overall, I'm happy I decided to pick up this game. While I didn't get to enjoy the experience during its original release, I'm really happy I got to enjoy this masterpiece now. Thinking about it, I think the reason why Hades was so enjoyable was that it was a light game. It doesn't require a lot of time commitment for big, enjoyable payoff, which I think is huge when your free time becomes far and in between. Now, I know there's a Hades 2, but I don't think I'll personally be playing it. I feel Hades was exactly the experience I needed, enjoyed it, and found it a complete experience. And this brings us to the end of my unplanned review of Hades. If you've played it or play it after watching this review, I'd love to hear your thoughts, your favorite weapon or play styles or builds. As always, I appreciate you guys stopping by and hope to see you guys on a future video.